Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to be going through a puzzle that one of you sent me, and I'm really thankful for it because, to be honest, let me tell you, it's got one of the best symmetries I've ever seen. It's White's turn to move here and win the game. The problem, as you can see, Black is forcing a checkmate in the next move, and White's got no real way of defending that. So, he needs to find a way to force a checkmate, and trust me, there actually is a way to force one. Also, the pawn is threatening to take and promote, as if White didn't have enough problems already. He needs to deal with that too. Alright, here we go. Years and years of doing puzzles have prepared you for this queen sack on d5, but unfortunately, that's not going to work here. Because after the pawn takes, White can't check the king with their rook, because the queen guards that square. Now after that, White's attack is dead. Bishop moves to e5, king to c6. Rook to c3, king to b5. Rook to c5, king takes on b4, and now White doesn't have a check the next turn. This move would have only worked if Black would take the queen with their king. We promote to a queen, king to d6, and sooner or later we would somehow find a mate. Alright, but unfortunately for us, Black is never going to make that blunder, so the queen sack does not work here. Now, maybe you're thinking of sacking this bishop instead on e7, and after that, under-promoting to a knight. But unfortunately, Black's king is going to be able to stop it and escape to d6, and White's not going to have a check anymore. Instead, in this position right here, the first move, I think, is the most natural one, bishop to e5. Now, Black has two options from here, either to e6 or to e7. If he chooses e6, this is going to be an easy checkmate for White, okay? There. But Black is not going to make our life that easy. So instead, he's going to move to e7. Now, here is where the magic happens. I think it's no surprise that the next move is an under-promotion to a knight because this is the only way of us continuing the attack. Now, the only available square is going to be this one right here, e6. So, what are we going to do next? We're just going to continue with the checks. Knight to f8, king to f5. And we're going to continue this little reverse clockwise pattern with the knights. Just look at how nice this symmetry is already. We got the bishops facing each other, the knights doing their dance. Isn't chess great? So, the next moves are pretty straightforward. We got knight to e6, king to h6. Knight to f5, king to h7. Knight to g5, king g8. But is this all, you might be thinking? I mean, is White just going to check with the knights and sooner or later just end in a draw? No. I said this is a forced checkmate, and the most interesting part is yet to come. We're going to continue with this little knight dance until we reach this position right here. And this is where I'm going to invite you guys to pause the video and try and find White's brilliant next move. Even with all this attacking power, the two bishops, the two knights, and this pawn on f3, surprisingly, White doesn't have enough resources to checkmate just yet. Black's king always has one square available to escape through. This is why the brilliant move in this position is finally the queen sack on d5. Now, why is that? I mean, the queen was just taken by the pawn and didn't do anything special. Or did she? We also already saw that the move wouldn't work earlier. So, why is this move so brilliant now? What changed that finally made it work? The main purpose for the sack, as you can already see, was to open up the 6th rank. Now White is going to continue with the knight checks, forcing the Black king down the circle once again. And now we've arrived here, with the Black king on the newly exposed 6th rank. But now what? I mean, why was it so important to open that file? Well, because the Black queen still protects the a6 square if the rook ever decides to check from there. But White wouldn't really care about that. He already sacked his queen. Why not sack the rook as well? If he's going down, at least he'll go down in style. I'm joking, obviously, but the rook sack is actually the correct move here. And I kind of hope you can see why, or at least have a vague idea as to why that is the correct move. The main purpose of those sacks, the queen and the rook, was because this was the only way of forcing Black to release the pin on the white rook on c2. Now, with the queen on a6, that rook is free to move. White is going to continue this little knight circle, and we find ourselves in a new difficult position. Now, I want you to pause the video if you want to challenge yourself, and see if you could find the mate. Quick hint, it's a mate in 3. Alright, so, In this position, we've got 4 possible checks. e6, h3, on g2, and on h7. We're going to disregard e6 right away because it'll only be taken by the queen. So we got knight to h3, knight to h7, or rook to g2. One's winning, 2 are losing. Can you tell which are which? One of the losing moves is going to be knight to h7 because black can go to h6 and take the knight the next turn. Knight to g8, black takes on h7. Bishop to g6, the bishop takes. And white would give up piece by piece just to prolong the inevitable. Now, if you had said the correct move is knight to g3 to deflect the rook, unfortunately, that would also lose us the game. Black would capture it, and even if we have this check here on g2, black would simply block it with their own rook, and now white is dead in the water. Black is threatening queen a1 and is going to make a new queen the next turn. Now, the winning move ends up being the unnatural rook to g2. Now, isn't this puzzle mind-blowing? We worked so hard to unpin the rook just to sack it the next turn. That's just crazy to me. The reason we need to sack the rook as well is because white needs to deflect the black rook from protecting that h3 square. So we can deliver yet another check with the knight on g1. If black didn't give up on that square and didn't take the rook, he'd block it with the bishop. White would take, king to h6, and now I'll let you pick your mate. You got 3 of them. Bishop to f4, knight to f5, or knight to g8. If he goes back, instead of blocking with the bishop, we have the same 3 mates in one. But what we care about is what happens after black takes the rook, because this is what most players would do. From now, I think the solution becomes pretty obvious. White has a mate in 2 moves, starting with knight to h3. And as a last challenge for you guys, what is the mate in 1 here for white? Yep, it's knight to f5. See why we needed that knight on h3? To guard that g5 square. Now, look at this symmetry. The pawn, bishop, and knights, white's bishops facing black's bishops, white's knights controlling the same squares, 1 queen and 2 rook sacks, a knight under promotion, and a forcing checkmate in 17 moves. What more could you ask for from a puzzle? Now, I think this is one of the most beautiful puzzles that I have ever solved, and I really hope you guys found it entertaining as well. I'll see you next time.